So if you want to get into long range shooting, there's a few things you've got to take care of before you can go out to the range. Getting a precision rifle set up is a little bit different than just grabbing a pistol, some ammo in your gun belt and holster, or even grabbing your carbine and mounting a red dot to it. Without the proper setup and mounting of your optic, you're never going to be able to reach out to the distances that you need to. Very important, first thing that I'm going to do is I have my Bushnell Elite, all right, mounted in my rings. Now it's not torqued down. I have it mounted to a Springfield Armory M1A. Cool thing about this M1A is it's chambered in 6.5 Creedmoor. And I have the entire setup mounted in a vise from CTK Precision. All right, that just makes my job a lot easier. The first thing that I need to do is set up the eye relief on the optic. Eye relief basically means that where I'm going to naturally mount this rifle, that I have no shadowing around the scope, all right? I can see it perfectly clear. So I'm going to set it where I think it might need to be in the Picatinny rail. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to mount the rifle, and I'm going to make sure that I'm not getting any scope shadow at all. If I need to slide the optic forward, if I need to pull it back, if I need to change where it's mounted in the Picatinny rail, I can go ahead and do so now. Now I've got the rings tightened just a little bit so the scope's not sliding around, because once I set my eye relief, I want to make sure that it stays there in the rings. Because now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the optic off the M1A completely. I'm going to mount it on this nifty little device, the scope setter. We're going to get the optic perfectly level, and then we're going to torque it down before mounting it back on the rifle. All right, so now I've got my scope setter. Now, this nifty little device, actually developed by a buddy of mine, will allow me to get the optic perfectly level. So I'm going to go ahead and take my level. I'm going to use these adjustable feet to make sure that it is perfectly level. Once I'm happy with my level bubble, I'll just go ahead and check the back. Happy, happy, happy. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to mount my optic to the scope setter. It doesn't matter so much what Picatinny rail you have it mounted in, because we're not setting it for eye relief. We've already done that. All we're doing now is setting it to make sure that it is perfectly level. Now we know the scope setter is already perfectly level because we just checked it. Now I'm going to check the optic. I'm going to put it right on here. If the optic is off, I'm going to turn the optic in the rings that are just slightly tight till my level bubble is directly in the center. Once I'm happy with that, now I know for sure that my rings are level because it's on the scope setter, and now my optic's level. I can go ahead and I can torque the screws down to whatever the manufacturer says. In this case, it's 25 inches per pound. All right, so I've just pulled my optic off the scope setter. I know it's level for sure. I placed it back on the Picatinny rail of the M1A. Now it's very important when you do mount it back on the rifle that you place it in the same exact Picatinny rail. Otherwise your eye relief's gonna be messed up again. I like using a paint pen, and I'll make a little hash mark from the mount itself onto the rail, kind of a co-witness mark. That way I know it's going exactly back to where it is. Once it's mounted back on the rifle, torque it down to whatever the manufacturer specs are. Go get yourself some good match grade ammo. Chrono the rifle, get your data set, go get some instruction, and reach out and bang some steel.